Okay, Mark, take it away.
Well, thanks, guys, for being here tonight, or this afternoon, or this morning, wherever you are. Cassandra would be at 7 a.m. Unfortunately, she's not with us today. She's crossing the ocean between Australia and Greece. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to present you with our other co-host, John Wessick, first. John has written over a million words in poems, short stories, and novels. Many of his works have appeared in journals such as I-70 Review, New Verse, News, Patterson Literary Review, and Unlikely Stories, Mark V. He is a regional editor of the San Diego Poetry Annual and host of the Gelato East Fiction Open Mic. John's latest book, Reductio ad Absurdium, is a collection of parodies. Lives in Manchester, New Hampshire, and longs for gene editing to bring giant wombats back from extinction. John.
Thank you, Mark. Let me see if I can share the screen here. Hold on. I got to do this one and share. You see that? That's Salvador Dali's lobster telephone. And kind of what he did is he took a lobster shell and glued it to the handpiece of an old dial telephone. So this is my update to the lobster telephone. The rare case when I do an acrostic poem. It's called Cell Phone Étouffée, or Reimagining Salvador Dali's Lobster Telephone. Peel and devein the cell phones, being careful to remove the lithium batteries. Chiffonade a handlebar mustache and set aside. Pluck a floating elephant from the clouds. Squeeze out the flammable hydrogen before bringing it indoors. Puree the elephant in batches in a food processor. The excess will keep for up to 6 months in your freezer. Melt 3 clocks in a frying pan. Add 3 tablespoons of ground elephant and whisk to combine. Continue whisking until the raw elephant smell is gone to make a roux. Toss in the holy trinity of burning giraffes, rhinoceros horn, and scaffolding. Saute until softened and beginning to caramelize. Pour in a violin and simmer for 20 minutes until thickened. Add the cell phones and cook over medium until heated. Top with chiffonade and garnish with an apple wearing a bowler hat. There we go. Okay, and now it's my turn to introduce Mark. Mark Vincennes is a poet, fiction writer, translator, editor, publisher, designer, multi-genre artist, and musician. He has published many books of poetry, translations, and fictions, including more recently The Pearl Diver of Irumani, The King of Prussia is Drunk on Stars, The Mayfly Codex, and the recently released Spells of the Wicked from Unlikely Books. Forthcoming poetry collections are Ironclad from Spootendievel, All the Tricks of Language, Dos Madres Press, and next year No More Animal Poems from White Pine Press, also accompanied by a post-classical music and spoken word album, No More Animal Songs. A chapbook, Rocket Ship to the Andromeda Galaxy, was just released. Mark is also a prolific translator and translates from the German, Romanian, Spanish, Icelandic, and French. He has published 12 books of translations, most recently an Audible Blue Selected Poems 1963 to 2016 by award-winning Swiss poet and novelist Klaus Mertz, which won the 2023 Massachusetts Book Prize for translating literature. His newest book of translations, In the House, Still Light by Klaus Mertz, is forthcoming in the fall. His own work has been translated into many languages, including Japanese, Chinese, Russian, French, Italian, Spanish, Romanian, Greek, German, and Icelandic. He is currently working on a novel entitled The Age of Occasions, Vincennes is editor and publisher of Mad Hat Press and publisher of New American Writing. He has lived all over the world, from Brazil to China to Iceland to India. He was born in Matilda Hospital on the Peak in Hong Kong, but now lives on a farm in rural western Massachusetts overlooking Herman Melville's Greylock Mountain. Melville's inspiration for Moby Dick, where there are still more box elder bugs, candy-striped leafcutters, and goldback snipeflies than 10-toed bipedal earthlings. Take it away, Mark.
Thank you, John. Short introduction. This is called Seven Sun Gods. When the sun rises, do you not see a round disk of fire, like a guinea, a glimmer? Amaterasu. The world is intertwined with the unworld. A true apprentice comes but once in an eclipse. The measureless inconsistencies, the choking estuaries, the mind of an unbeing undoes all that has come before. What a glorious river picture. Arena. What is the inference turning, she asked, bending over to pluck a flower. Such a puny recipe. The acts, those limbs themselves enshrine. We see it as our machine, the acts like thefts from human logic, the surface of the mind enscrolled and never spoken aloud in polite company. Apollo. An illumination, a clear sky, or cool breeze. Don't waste your breath collecting conch shells. No, you have all possible foreknowledge of the enigma, the engine of the poetry, in good faith, or the pest that has marked us. The flight reflex, the profile of the mountain, that inner surpassed tendency to flight. Freyr. No, you possess all possible forms, from eagle to bear, from sprouting spruce to monkey-puzzled tree, to raise you up. And if, in some strange fashion, the pressure of the eyes, the leisure of the face, the pummel of the sword, all become one thing, hold up the mirror and shudder. Helios. The twinkling of the spider's webs, the creaking of the tiny eyes, even those kept in bottles at the center of the city where everyone has been trained in the art of life. The unfolding of those minuscule creatures, the buzz and hum at the center of gravity, perturbs. Huitzilopochtli. In the storm, the earth worships the sky. In the flurry, the urge for second life, for an instrumental elemental fire to survive. Turn old kisses to new ones like sparks of carbon, all genders fetching toward the cornucopian curves of paradise. Tonatiu, break the spell, unword the world. All this nonsense about an earthly paradise, the world remade in my image and all that, the fire within the eye or the eye within the fire. What is known can never be written. Burn it into the great appearance. Walk along in a straight line and mingle. Thank you. And now I am absolutely delighted to introduce Mary Newell, who, alongside from being a very accomplished author, also helped to curate this wonderful session. Mary, thank you so much. And Mary Newell is the author of the poetry book Entwine from BlazeVox, as well as the poetry chapbooks Tilt, Hover, Veer from Codfield Press, and Resurge. And she has poems in many journals and anthologies and occasional essays, including When Poetry Rivers from Interim, which is an interesting piece. Mary is also co-editor of Poetics for the More Than Human World, an anthology of poetry and commentary, and the Rutledge Companion to Eco-Poetics. And she teaches creative writing and literature at the University of Connecticut, Stamford, and intermittent online classes. Mary is also a poetry mentor at the Bridge. She lives in the Hudson Highlands of New York. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for your poem. I was fortunate last night to go to a production of the Mahabharata. It's not related to today's reading, except the image Mark mentioned of mirror. A lot of the ending of this version and the original version has to do with letting go of, one could say, grasping or clinging or identification. And here at the end is this person who's been through hell and back and has let go of, he thinks, everything. And he arrives in heaven and finds his adversary there instead of his family that was on his side of the battle, who are someplace else. And he's, of course, really horrified. And it ends with him looking at a snake. Apparently, they burned snakes in sacrifice. But when he looked in the eyes of the snake, he saw his own greed and clinging. And he understood that burning snakes wasn't really going to solve the problem. So I just thought that was worth bringing up at this moment in time. But back to my book, most of what I'm going to read will be coming from Entwine, which I think is a kind of really ode to where I'm living, which is in the Hudson Valley on the edge of woods. It actually extends way back to the woods that adjoins the Appalachian Trail. And so it's kind of a passageway for those remainders of the non-human who managed to survive in exurbia. We have an occasional bobcat and bear and smaller creatures passing through. And I've taken a lot of time and attention with plants and pollinators. So a lot of this book actually is about trees and birds. But before I read that, I have one poem from my summer trip to Ireland, where I did a writing residency. And my correspondent at home kept saying, as I was talking about our trip to the old growth forests and the Burren and so on, he kept saying, "But are you getting any writing done?" So this is just to prove that I at least have started some writing. It's a draft poem, which is provisionally titled "Not Everything's a Metaphor." The sea slaps solid rock at the cliffs of Moher along the wild Atlantic Way in County Clare, a 700 feet tall, jagged, rocky cliff on Ireland's southwest coast, its cavernous inlets festooned with floral pinafores and whirling seabirds. Waves crash, on rare occasions climb all 700 feet, refurbishing the surface. The rocky magnitude asserts solidity, yet on the path a crack splits off, a tear-shaped section, 3 feet at widest, a hairline crack but widening. The next crumb of shoreline the sea will claw down. That's just a natural fact of gravity and time. My footing's safe for now along the path, and no one nudges me toward an edge. All the while, linear time persists relentlessly. As shoreline rumbles threaten, ephemerals, ripped calendar pages tumble into seas of garbage. and the proverbial ground underfoot threatens to crumble with no surety of future home. And by the way, welcome to all of you. I'm so happy to see so many familiar faces and just as happy to see unfamiliar faces. And I can't really comment on black boxes, but maybe you'll appear at some point in time. But thanks for being there anyway. So this next poem, you can imagine it in two columns, at least to begin with. It gets sort of overlapping at some point in the poem. The heart rate of a red-tailed hawk, on average, 202 beats per minute. Mine is 65. Food, mostly small mammals. Mine, veggie omnivore. Auburn and white feathers pair to my few auburn streaks in white. Domicile, twig nest in tree. Me, house with many windows, through which I see you in the yard. Unusual proximity, perched on a long horizontal. Sustained, unwavering. I become as still as you. No feather ruffles, long practice holding a gaze. Is it mere accident you seem to look my way? Is your stillness just pray ready? For me, a prayer to unconceal connection? The term adjacent insufficient for this yearning to tug the thread that tangles us together? Neither prey nor protector, no necessity. I'm touched by wildness, flight, while you perhaps find respite with no predators. I ache to claim this gaze is mutual. Does that imply intent? I honor this space that opens in elongated gaze till you release the branch to soar, circling wide and out of sight. And this next poem actually comes out of our earlier conversation about caterpillars and butterflies. It originated in my first chapbook, but it's hard to let go of. It refers to diapause, which is a kind of pause when insects, caterpillars in this case, have a sense that the weather isn't quite right, doesn't allow them to proceed to the next stage, because butterflies can only fly at, I think it's 65 or something like that. There's a certain temperature need. So diapause is kind of a limbo in between. In the pith of diapause, tone held through the gap between crawl, chew, and flutter, sip. Weather churn. On the brink, wings rolled ready, colors soft through chrysalis wrap. Slow unfurl, finding the updraft. And this next poem is a Hudson River poem. It's the favorite poem of a friend of mine who was here when I last looked. And it uses the words wake and waves in case it's hard to hear in this context. And the word plump, which can be any group of waterfowl. Intersection witness, say the wakes of a sailboat and a plump of mallards intersect. Many V's flange out behind their gliding. Plankton pushed to the V arms roll over with turbulence, spuming, while in between the water is slick. The wakes run interference on the tide, deforming waves that lap the shore. Say someone standing on shore tries to unravel that rippling skein, tracing backwards from the waves, while her rapt companion sways to the undulations as the laps refresh her feet. In the pith of intersecting wakes, say life is complex, perplexing, has beauty, has pattern, has meaning embedded within that tangle or in its witnessing. And this next poem is a prose poem, slightly different tonality. It's called Well in the Country. We're well in the country, probably properly called exurbs, and we have a well. Well, it's my first well, so I thought, a bit of independence from bureaucracy for that basic need. But no, wells need electricity to power their pumps, so we're still on the grid. Joke's on me, no water during blackouts unless you save buckets of water to flush. It works, we did. But when the novelty wears off, you can buy a generator to make up for all that money you saved moving from the city. We're well-welled, good news. In the basement where the water pipes enter, 2 blue tanks filter out excess iron that seeps down from copper mine. You knew, perhaps, that copper ore is not pure copper, but a mix. Ours is a copper-sulfur-iron compound called chalciparate. Filtering works, except for that interval before the generator kicks on, when random particles could get in the water, so it has to be flushed. Well, we exult in life in the exurbs, and all is well, except for the water pressure, a piddle. I didn't foresee this major glitch called drought. My first. My neighbor says it's not the worst. A garden friend consoles. Don't feel bad. Everyone's plants are dying. Conjuring future famine, I water at 5 to beat the showering crowd. Next, the water table sinks. The well slows to a near stall stuffed with irony muck. And then a huge truck brings a plunging surger, and several thousands later, we have water for every modest need, and all will be well with the well. All well in the world? Question. And I think I'll end with one more poem. It's the second half of a pair really about seeds. Furthering the plant's survival plan. Hold a seed in a calm hand. Feel the faint pulsation of folded-in potential. Meanwhile, your heartbeat pulses, pumping blood, and your nervous system picks up clues of liveliness from all directions. Hand informs brain of the buzz, but brain is deluged with 11 million bits of sensation a second, while the conscious mind grasps roughly 50, so you might have to jiggle that seed to feel it. Meanwhile, the earth pulses every 26 seconds, blips in mini-seismic shimmy shrug, because the sun heats stronger toward the equator. If you've vaulted off clock time to earth tempos, say several days deep into the Grand Canyon, you can sense that pulse along with your own. And the seed, can you scatter it, envisioning the rampant leafing chorus that sings out oxygen? Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mary. Wonderful. I'm feeling the oxygen. And speaking of oxygen, let's go to someone from New Zealand, Orchid Tierney, who's a poet and scholar from Aotearoa, New Zealand. She's the author of The Abattoir is a College from Calamari and A Year of Misreading the Wildcats, the Operating System, as well as many chapbooks, including Pedagogies of the Planthropocene, looking at the tiny mad lichen on the surfaces of reading, My Beatrice, Ocean Plastic, and Blue Doors. Interesting titles. Orchid is the co-editor of the Routledge Companion to Eco-Poetics, from 2023, and her scholarship has appeared in Venti Substance, Jacket 2, the Cambridge Companion to Australian Poetry, Teaching the Literature of Climate Change, and the Cambridge Companion to American Poetry and Politics since 1900. Orchid is soon to be Associate Professor of English at Kenyon College and a Senior Editor at the Kenyon Review. Welcome, Orchid.
Yeah, thank you so much. Honestly, Mark, I want to sort of say, Mark and John, I loved your readings, and I really appreciate just how slow and paced they are as well. It allows for time to actually savor each word. And Mary, that was really fantastic. I highly recommend that you do check out Mary's book, because it's absolutely fantastic, and it has such lovely sound effects as well. It's an extraordinary collection. I'm just going to time myself so I can be respectful of everyone's time. I'm actually going to read from my latest. I've had a chapbook come out this year, but also this book, This Abattoir is Ecology. And I'm actually going to read this from this book, which explores a different kind of ecology, namely the ecology of the institution or of higher education. You probably won't be able to see this so clearly, but there's a picture of a former abattoir in Philadelphia, and I became very obsessed about this building. I actually ended up housing the Kaplan Institute, which at one time, and I think they still do, they oversee the GREs and SATs and so forth. And I was really interested in this sort of relationship between education and the abattoir. So this is a poet's novel in many respects, and it follows three characters. The character Limpet, who is a stunner in an abattoir who ends up becoming a professor at an institution, at a higher institution. Hog, who is a butcherer who ends up becoming a dean at a university. And the unit, who is actually me, who intervenes in this narration. And the reason is that why I intervene is because this book has actually been 15 years in the making, and it's gone through so many different iterations, but ended up taking a whole new life after COVID, or during COVID, when I started to sort of feel a little bit disheartened by the state of higher education. Namely, how I felt like I was being transformed along with my other colleagues and with students into these units in order to sort of like sustain a system that actually ends up showing a lot of uncare, I think, to students and to faculty. So I'm going to just sort of, the poems themselves are sometimes a bit long, so I will read probably just from the first section. And I should actually just explain also that the poems are very fragmented, again, sort of mirroring my experience of being dissembled by the system of higher education. Necropastoral. When the line is a city, it is a narrative for mourning. The first half of the sun is grit. The second promises a difference. The city is a factory for organizing indifference. What does not change is the will to change, says Olson. This line needs further inquiry. A line is a city with a meat-packing district. This space is a lattice of red brick and grey beef, a cover of clover and cleaver for monkey calves and paper sheep. Units are sent here for slaughter. Design is a difference that measures the distance. A ghost house spites the banks of a hidden holy river, a spectre of dread, the zombie of toil. This is a century that calls itself dust. Calluses that dress for a silent market. A reputable killer refuses to handle the slaughter home, is a murder, a cocoon for cows and colleagues, a community of courses, a dead zone for the living, a line for a factory, an assembly of faculty. Choice is a word in a killing floor, the slick of animal matter, thick sticks and battery acid. The street is electric with spasms. The corner chafes the difference between sweetness and crunch. Trains that sting with cattle and kin, skins and limbs, loins and shins. Here is a swill of bite and beer, a stock of GREs, a grave of SATs, a chain of flesh and candy, sugar and blood. This mundane world is grace and slaughter. Bricks, wood, candy, hooves, tests, beer. The stranger ingrained on a Polaroid photo, a murmur, a memory, a history of waiting. And in the frame, the units whisper, everyone must make their living. This is a house not lived in. Limpet labors in a sweet house of desire. This house is an abattoir, a college, a clean institution. This college is a settler. This college is a committee. This college is the machine for war and policing. Limpet is a bulldozer, a system, a knocker, a commodity, a product, a unit, a resource, and a head. Limpet knocks to the beat of a pneumatic gun. Limpet is tender, viscid, and sticky. Narrative is a lorry. Outside, the nor'wester wind is calcareous and chalky. Inside, the air is copper and ferric, captive, penetration, compact air, a lesson or lesion, a legend, illusion. A straight line of organs stuns a serpent of products, bolt guns, magenta, weird tungsten, strange sunlight. Limpet is lifeless, a vassal, a vessel, a stall, a pen, a body erect, a floor, a swing, a swig, a glint of light, unsure of its inflection. Here is a space to tender reflection. During long hours, he narrates the space between his brain and the liver. Sometimes he is stern, at times he is joyous. An utter day, an utter dollar. He accuses, alleges, and confuses. What do you call a barrel upon a cow's head? Limpet things a thought. Ha ha, a capital joke. Tones in the air, heretics on paper. A listless limb, cruel but forgiving. A hoof, a gun, a fall, a knife, a swing, a swig, a glint, a body in motion. This text hangs like a caress. This text hangs like a carcass. What this beauty is, this stanza in the liver. All right. This is the unit's 9th attempt to write this novel. Even the air is obscene with pleasure. Each word drives the body closer to dismemberment. A sentence transferred to a lorry, transformed into slaughter. Is the unit a novelist, an essayist, a server, a poet? Is the unit a cow or a house, a student or a professor? Is it a lecturer, a counselor, a resource, a scholar, a worker, a loafer, a guide, a slacker, a manager, a mentor, an advisor, a policeman, a parent, a warmonger, a manager, a friend, a wheel, a collaborator, a flatline, a protester, a camera, a mother, a wife, an advocate, a maid, a service, a waitress, a mesh, a waste? Is this plot a plastic of catalysts, an inciting incident? Where is sentiment? A threshold, or is it a fault line, or a fruit, spring break, or a semester? Is this narrative a college or sickness? Does the unit reproduce unity through conformity? Is the unit tired or a downer? Is the unit cruel or useless, or capital and useful? Must the unit write a paragraph to advance to an ending, to construct blue doorways to heaven? Does engineering the novel answer the downer's last question? How is a sentence a wall? Is a doorway an exception, a commodity for tenure, a capital I idea? The answer is yes. The answer is no. Yes and no, yes and no, and maybe. The novel's bureaucracy transforms the text into a graduate program. And I'll just finish with a very, very short poem. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Here we go. You ought to be grateful because you have a job, because you are a beautiful resource. A pedagogy of enchantment is a mouthful of no. Remember, Hogg writes into the handbook, the institution will never love you back. Thank you.
Thank you, Orchid. Very powerful. Next, we hear from Rebecca A. Durham, who is a poet, botanist, and visual artist. Rebecca is the author of the award-winning poetry books Half-Life of Empathy from New Rivers Press and Lost Less from Shanti Arts, and Be Still, Mere Molecule, Broken Tribe Press. Rebecca holds an undergraduate degree in biology, master's degree in botany and creative writing, and an interdisciplinary PhD. She's worked across the West as a botanist, an ecologist, with over 20 years in western Montana, where she lives with her daughter, Rebecca.
Thank you, Mark. It's so great to be here reading with you all, and thanks everyone for coming. I'm going to read pretty much exclusively from Be Still, Mere Molecule. It is this project really, I was kind of deliberately thinking about like how much science can go in poetry and still have it be function like art. So I won't read some of the poems that are the most science heavy are like kind of longer, and they're not really great to read. So but I will so I'll be reading from Be Still, Mere Molecule, which is a joke actually, if you get it. Molecules aren't still. Okay. Rootlets push into the deep duff of it. Organic matter dank with richness, dark soil woven by hyphae, a mirth of light on mosses, a chant for wholeness, hermit thrush led. Where do we keep fallen bodies, tumble into connection, sedges cloak the muck, step in, step in. Quartz cliffs not broken by rhyme. Each face mirrors the spark sheen and the liquid torque of ultramarine lashes. Do the seas favor you? Obsidian flakes splinter into sand, waves arc wild over angular basalt. Do the seas favor you? If I whisk the salt spray from purpled plagioclase, if a sinuous slip of light breaches blue shadow, would your flawless face refract the facets? Mary Quotidian. In the tensile slant of errant silence, ask as though seen, sing as though cast into devil's club, a plopinox horridus, thorn stung, a terror mirror or savior, all similar horrors in the chaos, as though stillness was devil spined with blood-red berries. Palmate leaves that dwarf our palms, we, the creator and destroyer of worlds, are also created and destroyed, as matter coils and recoils, is absorbed and adorned. Sing as though spun, listen as though gutted, nail snared, ether aired. Among the moans sing the stung, even as electrons spin symmetric. Mary Sparkslake, Mary Slickslip, conjure excitatory gestures, generous myelin meanders, merry mineral and visceral, cross that snow snare, angular as though Aureliaceae, crystal as though cast. Evolved to make metabolic sense. Lean into the botanical theater, eyeless and mouthless. A single-celled remembrance calls body as host. ATP cleaves and bursts while we dream. See capability as catabolism and anabolism, the extent of perfusion, a billion hungry mitochondria, an interlaced web of want. As such, death a false disaster. Fertility builds multitudes, delayed resonance, a mere suggestion of self, no fusion of form, just a tangle of genomes. We speak from cells inside cells, this tenuous union. There's a bird poem to go along with Mary's bird poems here. A Museum of Bohemian Waxwings, March 5th. The flock centers its eruptive orbits around the cherry and cottonwood trees. An expansive twitter and chatter fills the snow-gray sky. My gaze of intention settles on yellow-tipped tails, defiant head crests. Branches quiver and still. Each motion creates a wing flurry. They say joy must be self-taught, again and again, continuous. See grief as a knot unraveling with their every movement. The centrality of their sound smear, the ringing out of expectation. Out from the branches they rise and feed, find fruits from a more vibrant season, return to the cottonwood, seek the swell of red sap surring, still gleaning, still searching, find sweetness in what remains. Wood Parade. Pour down matter like lava flowing onto rock. Pour through like air whisked through slot canyons. Carved sandstone snaking below rivers of sky. Striated like waves on silt. Cobalt light lashes over wood grains. Layers notched time with lignin. Each year rung like a badge. Light, expanse, following a dark stop. Now atoms rearrange, bonds heat-singed, pyrolysis, atoms and energy release, unbound atoms, now hot blue, mingle with ambient O2, glowing gas, not the former tree, spooky blue. Vibrations become heat, a fire whirl, orange dervish flickering with life pulse. Cindered and smoke-licked, these breakages, years unraveling into ash, and a red rift. In this book, as well as my first two books, I kind of think a lot about eco-melancholia and, about the destruction of the more than human world. And so this one is this book I've put into sections of different, so this is like in the environmental science category. Heavy metal hangover. Mercury fixed, we are swept sick from chemical drift. flung from adult's dither, a slurry of slick, plucked from Prop 65 lists, toxic valences cleave base pairs, a riotous rupture, a nauseous crush, methyl mercury and its compounds, DNA death nuisance, mutagenic monster, answer, was it you? Foraging behavior of the wood rotting fungus. This poem in my book, I don't know if you can see, there's an image there, and this poem is kind of after an experiment where they looked at fungal hyphae and like how they know like where to go towards the sugars, and how they kind of move through the soil and go towards the food sources, and it's really fascinating. So this poem is included that image, which was researchers in Japan. So it was like I emailed them and I was like, hey, can I use your? So I actually just sent the main research of the book too. So that's kind of fun. Foraging behavior of the wood rotting fungus. Phanerocati velutina, spider's keys mycelium. Exploratory mode makes whorls. Dichotomous branches split and split again. A wheel of touch, a search of sugar. Proliferating pinwheels pulse radially, extensions of these fractal dimensions. When the fungus finds food, key prunes the links of lack. O cord-forming basidiomycete, mover of nutrients and carbon, I want to know how you decide, at the interface of the litter layer and soil horizon. I too sieve for insight, fingers trace hyphae, I envy cell-level directional memory, because resource depletion, because fractal lack, I pinwheel and split again. Okay, I'm going to end with this short poem. I don't know if you're probably familiar with Robin Wall Kimmerer and her work. There was an article where she talks about using key instead of like she, her, it, like for the natural world. So I kind of I embrace that. So that's what this is as well. Key is a smoke wisp, and I watch key twist in the wind. Energy bifurcates, unfurls into long lines of gray, twines from the incense stick at the seam between what is formed and what fire turns to ash. Key moves like a rivulet from a moss trickle, wavelets beside key, dance of intense dissolution, and the farther key spirals from the seam, key becomes indiscernible, dissolute, scatters into invisible fractals, sparse likeness of original form, verdant garden to ghost, holding no fidelity to coherent essence, until sparseness of space ungrasps cohere, all form flared and fled, no near body, no more key to see. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Next, we hear from Jennifer Spector, who is an American poet and writer long based in Panama. Jennifer is the author of Hive from Corbell Stone Press and Thatchen, Dwelling Body in a Rough House from Chapter, Indwelling Cultural Representations of Inhabited Bodies from Palgrave. Jennifer's work has appeared in many journals, chapbooks, and artists' books, including Shearsman, Reliquit, Molly Bloom, 14 magazine, Towards an Experimental Ecology, Oline, Imminent, Chant de Serain, and many more. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, it's really great to see all of you, and these readings are just so beautiful, stunning work. It's wonderful to kind of dip into this and continue that feeling of all the bits and units and all these collections. I feel like there's been a greater deal of assemblies voiced, and I love stepping into that. So thank you. I'm going to start with a poem from Hythe and end with a poem from Hythe, but the pieces in between are, I want to say new. They are new, but they've been developing over a long time. So they keep changing and evolving, and some of them started quite a long time ago. Well, Floodway, which will be the second poem, started quite a long time ago when I was working with Hua Win, and we were studying HD. You'll probably detect that. And then the penultimate poem is actually new. So here we go. I'm going to start with Partitions. Partitions, a sketch over tropical land, rock canyons, llanos costeros, olivine burrowing in displaced cordillera. What if we draw from the edge, riving haulage, bays leashing, flota de tierra firme, flags on the map, waypoints for schooner, foot, canoe, if only brief shapes, windblast in a trace of what comes back denuded, razor of sands landward margins and stray ridings, all rope for the water loosened, some by hand, some for the tiller, part for the river. So the second piece, Floodway, in keeping of the theme of parts and assembly, I guess you could say, this was sort of an ekphrastic piece off of a silent film from the 1930s that some of you might know called Borderline, in which HD actually has a part, and Paul Robeson is featured. And there is a soundtrack, but there are no words. And I sort of was thinking about filmic script, and I just sort of worked into that. HD herself described the technique of that film as clatter montage. So I thought that this might be part of that tradition, which is not really a tradition. Okay, Floodway. 1. A shadow box theater, body parts flying, matchbirds spun, a spine swum floor. A wall floraled in knuckle and vein. Pierced fragments over a face say, only the sea opened, bounded by north is a cut sequence. Spray of light, circle of wave, light of tree, cloth, who could listen? Feldspars, blood in quartz, racing mineral cannons, in the eyes say in the fly, in cloud frost daub, say in the anywhere. A flapper's costume, a tabby cat stalking prey, something small left in a jar. Who can distinguish what came in the dark? Palm of river, a sea braid, a shepherd, all cards off the deck, heart of spades, reliving her open scar. A shoe, an owl, telephonic bric-a-brac, hands like a duck. Ring, 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 don't answer. No one there. New paper, patterns on the paper man. Did you come for us? A blue yielding chiasmus? Hands don't touch, lose in pitch like young anchors. She tried to fix the ropes. A tremble of words wound to film. 2. Snow, a woman's winter. From island strata to inland room, monoducks and navigators gone, and straw, not shade, holds her only yellow scant, starfish yellow shade, water prints on a gingham table. They watched her crowded sail and quarrel with departure, shuddered in a room. Is that Marion Moore knocking at the gate with her basket of cardoon? Islands scatter. Stage right, don't go to foyer, phrase, a shatter, pause on a face, floodway, spray of light, circle of wave, light of tree, a shade outworn, a trundle of splinters. The lovers are back, in their hands late shadows, some wait to be heard. Astrid has gone away, gone with the owl, left in a keyless day, her blocks of ice, her eau de vie, spectacles in the dining room. Have you come for us? Buttons cascade the stairs. Build a birch curragh, fly out of this sequence? A wave of impossible futures held in hand, the way a bird might sail a line of music, never diving the felted earth. And what comes through fire? Detritus reeved through a room, floodway, spray of light, circle the light, wave of tree. You would remember me and not the shelter, how we grew old in hand of sea, old, old, and searching. The next piece is something that emerged during Mabon last year, and I was exploring the writing of the wheel with Becca Claver, and we were looking at rituals. And so this was originally supposed to be a script for a ritual, but upon sharing an early draft in a great writing circle that I'm in with my friend Anna Reckon, she said that to her, the poet, she's a poet too, that it felt like an expectation of measurement. And so that has become its title now. An expectation of measurement on the autumn equinox. Gather all the cloth you need. Let it fill corners where you sleep, rolling bed, rimming river. Lay it as karst at your feet. Take cloth to distant blade, bring closer. This could be night shack, lampstone, velvet dark you enter. Lay your stone, 10 horns of flowers across tilt. Sing 4 words you never knew. In the still room of arrows, remember your other name. Mahogany, cinnamon, pinch of clove. All cloth and whilm make your house. Climb, stand rafter. Hold my envelope of gravel. It may be colder than before. We may remember. Be silent if you hear your name. With ear to head wall, turn 20 circles, face north, ingest the sun. Let it burn a little. Make of you a grammar, a length of water, green in the axis, an unsuspected strafe. Float the sullage, veer left, once. The clasp, what's stored? May it plim, bring your plume. There is a chant for slumber. Meet it at the door. Let it fill your lungs. Oak for chest trees, message of cold. Be like that. Voice of steel wool and winter, of hard work, sharpened, a vital pledge bristled with ballows. Wait in the garden for tracery's sash. 3 on the arm, a band of blue, horses like that, stunned to wander. Accretive tincture. In forage, take in, tender assembly, the stray plovers, the shallows. Take me to the tideway, shape in the palm, be a living scatter. Freight comes from unknown terra, starshed, foundling, canter, take a star to the mouth. Hold the summer song, leaves on the cloth, cloth for the fire, be like that. Be all the lexicons, sky filtered pause of little closures, pins in trim, refuse, clear the shed. Loosen your clover. Outside is where you left off. Fair copy, new timber, still letters make the house, keep you in a name. As floating mark on a vessel leaves her slant column, descanting purse blue line to the hull. Be the missing ship, a fleet of absence moving the sail. And I'll just close with the last poem from Height, A Field. What wreckage, combed in tethered brooch, shores the spheric house? Tideway slaked with beaches, buck and beam assailed by sow, swifts darting the frame. As far from surface as from float, sued where water ground her, shoaled of breath, shorn of wind, dishabited barest shelter. Swash and wild clover ransomed by what coves the shed. And like the rose, tied to stone, which wends the bricks which bees have hold, little thorns and white flower presage the coming summer. It will be enough for thrift to grow where sound has been. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer. And now we are delighted to hear from another wonderful poet, Jami Macarty, who lives in Tucson, Arizona, and Vancouver, BC. Jami teaches creative writing at Simon Fraser University and writes essays, reviews, and poetry. She is the author of the long Now Conditions Permit, forthcoming from the University of Nevada Press, winner of the 2023 Test Site Poetry Prize, the Minuses Center for Literary Publishing 2020, winner of the 2020 New Mexico Arizona Poetry Book Award, and 4 chapbooks, including The Whole Catastrophe and Mind of Spring, which was winner of the Vallum Chapbook Award from Vallum Chapbook Series. Welcome, Jami.
Hi, thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, depending on where you are. It's good to be in your company, and I'm really happy to hear you, Mary and Orchid, Rebecca and Jennifer. Beautiful, beautiful work. I'm gonna start with a couple of poems from Landscape of the Weight, which is my first chapbook written in 2010-ish, published in 2017, and it's written in honor of my nephew, William. How is this sound okay, everyone? Yeah, okay, wonderful. Thank you. Broken on suddenly. We have felt the world shape your limboed sling, neither grave nor a yes, you fitting to a point or vastness, a kaleidoscope or a single-hued land, continuous without continuing, your elaborate brain, a cause of amazing identity, hardly here. Two strains. Ventilator like a mother, commands what the brain interprets, hoping for a rechargeable battery or a better nothingness for you. Do I dare bake bread, dream a dimension of what's possible? We don't see the leaves fall, and they fall whether we see them or not. If, when you extended beyond driver's seat, you could have been dreaming, we all could have been dreaming of safe harbor. And then within this chapbook, there's a series of prose poems that have the word that have the title "Dream Since," and this is the second one. You did what they said you won't do. You woke up. You sat up from your hospital bed, dressed, walked out, and were driving me to the family picnic. I was concerned about where you would sleep because your mattress had been thrown away. Wanted to explain what they did and why, that all of it was reversible or a detail. We'd find you a new place to sleep. And I'm going to switch landscapes now and read some poems about the Sonoran Desert, or that take place in the Sonoran Desert. And these poems are from the Minuses, a first full-length collection. Given distance from a given point, I cross the third degree of a great circle. The full moon gathers wet footsteps from stones. At night, gravity defines silences between oceanic miles. By the time waves replace themselves or the cockle shell's split scars my palms exactly like wings, the stars seated in the dark pass our lives across the table. I dreamed him invisible in 1,000 places. Night played remorse. I witnessed a woman torn from her bicycle. That woman no longer blackbirds. Desert opus. Sun, sun, no cloud, no shade trees, no cool sea, no rain, no train, no show. Shine, shine, no shade bees, no butterflies, no birds, breeze, November. Sun, sun, no dark, no moon, no dawn. Sun, sun, high noon, no morn, maroon, no proper time of day. At gravity's feet. The sun kilns. Sun's calcining belly cheapens the wind. Now a conflict of still air. A candle wish blisters. The day comes back in cars. I see them, but they do not see me. In this metropolis of thorns, bare feet dare cacti and heat. The neighbor's music interferes with my music. Banjo, the multiplying ears of the prickly pear. Called abruptly to my knees, I sent myself into the desert to become a third person. And then I'll read one poem from my forthcoming collection that's called The Long Now Conditions Permit. Just take a sip of water. Okay, this is called Asterisks to What Branches in the Perfect Including. And it is preceded by an epigraph by Gertrude Stein, act so that there is no center, there is no use, pardon me, in a center. And this is the first sentence in the rooms section of Tender Buttons. So again, act so that there is no use in a center. Asterisks to what branches in the perfect including. When away from soap, I rub into my hands creosote. These odd, slow own hours, I imagine worm moons down ear shudder. Earthworms, soil's pedestrians prepared for what is theirs to bear. My syrinx impulse to ask you, sir, not to spit into anything that is public. The air, the street, the water where we each row our solitary boats through the waves of a strange collective sea. Were they seeds you spit? I would want them planted for sunflowers to grow beyond, beyond. I dream she put her hand through mist. Her hand is mist. I sit in the car after it has sat in the sun for the morning. There is nowhere to drive to that is open. Your hand, when you hold mine, when I hold your hand, retains warmth. Lift this rock, collared lizard, tail flick. On the trail, my foot breaks a brittle bush branch. My hand picks a turpentine flower. Neither my intent, both my regret. This female black-chinned hummingbird stills on a yet-leafed mesquite. Gray-green back body, a nest band indents her near-white breast. My body in a labor as hers to still. Sun's burning filter exposes our trouble moorings, black-chinned and I becoming bounded by the branch, the light that nows her partner's namesake gorget. Without the right light for iridescence, his throat may look black. More hikers with bandanas masking mouths, noses. Our incognito collective walks a desert punctuated by the exclamation points of saguaros. A wake of turkey vultures takes advantage of updrafts to catch the scent of death. Blue eggs loll in twos in curve-billed thrasher nests. The edge of the circle accounted for allows the center what meaning there is. Center points to periphery. That is center's use, Gertrude. A grapefruit after avocado on hospitable rice cake. This grapefruit, picked by my love's hands, a bright everything orb, lit by the mysteries of sun's citrus regimen. Tendering yellow and green rinds, I startle a Cooper's hawk off its perch, hovering the compost. I bend to a Sirius's night bloom that requires I bend in attention. The light over my neighbor's front entry casts a heart shadow. The toll confrontation with violent communication takes, death in the morning. She on whom breast cancer took its toll, death in the evening. No sight of the Cooper's hawk for 4 days, nor the desert cottontail. Mourning doves line the wire. The sun drops off the horizon. Dream dolphins dark breach Atlantic shore, a cork pop before resubmerging, the dolphin's collective breath through which I release dead emotion, dive and follow. First sunflower discovered on the dawn trail, Kneel-worthy yellow, kneel-worthy yellow. Accretion of yellow as I walk. Across the arroyo, a solo coyote watches from Palo Verde's shadow. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Jami.
Thank you, Mark and John. Thank you.
And thank you all for a fantastic show. Especially thank you, Mary, for putting together this amazing crew of fantastic poets, including yourself, Mary Newell, Orchid Tierney, Rebecca A. Durham, Jennifer Spector out of Panama City, Jami Macarty. Thanks so much. John, I think we have a few open mics here, right?
Well, I believe that Kurt Lovelace wants to read. I know that much.
All right, let's give it a go.
Can you all hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Good. Okay. This is one of 3 pieces that's going to appear in, I think, Axion, an International Journal of Poetics and Thought, in July. This is a very short piece called Turkish Delight. Turkish Delight. When a hopscotch of happenstance bequeaths unto you your vilest enemy, leaning against your door, gunshot, bleeding. But your door cam allows you to continue to sit and sip the steeped chamomile flowers, hands hugging your teacup like a warm body. A satisfied ah leavens your wet lips. The third chime of the door cam is the charm, as the eyes in your eye close their eyes.
I think next we have Vicky K.
Hi there. Just a smallish piece called Reclamation Proceedings. I was expecting muddy pools, the muck and the silt, but a slotted spoon and a small sieve aren't getting me very far. All I've managed to retrieve is a wriggling thing, dragged struggling to the surface, half rotted away. But I don't care what happened last Thursday at 10:15 a.m. Turns out it wasn't important anyway. I give up. The effort's too much. Moving on across a savanna, tall waving grasses, flowering branches poking up out of the ground. Geoxiles. At least I remembered that. But what can I hope to get from them? I look around me. All I can find is a toy bucket, a spade, and a pack of disposable toothpicks. But what can I hope to recover? Not much. I might as well do what the ancient bards did, tell my oral saga, and each time I do, tell it slightly differently to stave off boredom.
I think we should conclude with the Lit Balm house band, starting with DeWitt Henry. DeWitt, do you have something for us?
Okay, you got me. At the beginning of something, I guess. It's good to see everybody. This is called Ordinary Ecstasy. Arthur Winter, the lawyer and suburban patriarch in James Gold, Cousins by Love Possessed, #1 bestseller in 1957, narrates his marital sex scene in a Latinate prose that sent censors to dictionaries and puzzled me, even after I'd gone all the way with my first love in a drive-in. Page 264 out of 570, Arthur with his wife, Clarissa, quote, "Through moments of dark, by searching contacts of discovery, by successfully pressed explorations, he had his body's speechless cognizance of her body, his rigid members' trembling knowledge of the mouth, unseen, the central hairy diadem, whose lips prepared to open. Arthur Winter mastering yet overmastered, gathered all in, cried, oh, and mounted, made all one with him. His as much as hers, the supple and undulous black hollowing at the pull of his hands to a compliant curve, his as much as hers, her occupied, participated hips, her obediently divided, embracing knees, her parts in most manipulative reception, the incontinent instant brought to pass, no sooner his, the very article, his uttermost, to stand and deliver of the undone flesh, the tottered senses cultivating of astoundment, than, put beside themselves, his at their secret quick, provoked by that sudden touch beyond all bearing, the deep muscle groups come to their vertex, were in a flash convulsed, in spasms succeeding spasms, contracting on contraction, hers, hers too, hers, 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 unquote. Wait, it's not done. Diadem, the dictionary defined as a crown or headband worn by monarchs and others as a badge of royalty. So here, instead of circling her brain, e.g., uneasy the head on which rests the crown, pubic hair crowns the vagina, a puzzle of praise best left to Freud, or later of trim or shave.
Okay, I'm not stepping on you now. We have a late entry by Heller Levinson. Sorry about that, Dwight.
Okay. All right. It's very recent. A cantilever vortex jam. Understanding microbes. Swift ululet jiggle. Contrascarp squirm. Mulling mules the canopy. Quill undulate. Bastion prick. With opulence this proffer. Wooden plows and yokes, cables and threshing sledges, irrigation canals, iPhones, flushing through the slop of muon murk, a displaced palmistry.
Thanks, Heller. Next up, our living room laureate, Cindy Hockman.
Okay, I've got two haiku. This one's going to be published in Chala Needles, which is a print magazine. A guy named Gary Metris is guest editing it. He's been around for a long time. And he solicited me for poems. And I sent him this and he took it. And it's the closest I've ever come to echo poetry. Rowing away from the barnacles of my psyche, still stuck in toxic sludge. And then the second one was published in Haikuniverse after they turned me down about 6 times. And this one reminds me, last week, Martin Fagura read from England. And I know his bio says that he lives with Helen Ivory, who's also a wonderful poet, and sciatica. And that struck me as, well, sad that he lives with that, but it was a funny way to do a bio. So I sort of got inspiration from that. So my haiku, it's 11 p.m. and I'm lying in bed with Mozart and reflux. That's it.
Thank you, Cindy. And our closer, as always, Bob Heeman. Bob?
Okay, thank you. This is a recent information piece. Information. The moon only one excuse. They used others when the verbs demanded them. Sometimes a car left on the dirt road was an explanation for the river. Sometimes a man and a woman were used as an example of a word game. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Here's one more thing before we close for tonight. It's called To Be Transported. Visibility, good today. The clouds collapse through the trees like deer flurrying into the brush. Are you prepared to stand up in your tiny body and face the ghosts in their intimate cruelty? The lyrical rain, a pagan feast, a reminder that we grow our fruit most fearlessly, mon amour. Thank you, everybody, for a wonderful night. And we shall see you, hopefully, next time, not so far from now, at the next Lit Balm show, which is a Dos Madres press reading, including Robert Murphy, Katie Lehman, Hilary Sideris, David Gianni, and Norman Finkelstein. So please join us then. And thank you so much, Mary, Orchid, Rebecca, Jennifer, and Jamie for tonight. Wonderful reading. Love you guys. Lots of love.
Thank you all. Yeah, readers and listeners alike.
Yeah, thank you all very much. It was a pleasure
Thank
to be with you.
We shall see you in the ether.
Thanks.
In
See
the
you all.
ether.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.